Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kontrast 2025 studio. With me, the legend, Paul Bonner. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much.
For us, you are a legend, believe me or not. I'm really happy to see you over here and to see so much enthusiasm in people. Were you expecting that kind of reception over here?
Actually, not at all.
Not at all.
To be honest, no. I didn't realize the apparently big impact that Warzone and Mutant Chronicles has had right back from whenever it was, late 80s.
For us, I think it was 1996.
Yeah, I didn't realize, no, that it was the first game, particular kind of game translated into Polish ahead of all the other much bigger companies. It never occurred to me.
Yeah.
But I always knew there was a following in Poland and in some reason for Italy, but now I know why.
Yeah, plenty of people started playing games. I started playing games like wargaming games through Warzone. Someone showed me in the local club, and actually club in Łódź, where I come from, and they were all crazy about it. And I started playing it. I've been playing Legion. So always the bad guys.
And then always most fun.
You can do anything and everything's fine. Then I transferred to Warhammer because it was basically everywhere, and the company Target Games, I believe it was.
Swedish.
I don't think they did a good job with marketing and managing the game overall. So it's sort of collapsed slightly. But
the world was different. Yeah. And we were all younger then, so they were doing it like most people did then. They were doing it out of passion.
True.
And I think the marketing and trying to survive financially sort of occurred to them a little bit later. Oh, blimey, yeah, we've got to do that as well. And maybe it was too late by then.
Maybe then Games Workshop, sort of came to more popularity in Poland. But let's not talk about Games Workshop because that's not.
No.
I actually have a couple of questions for you as an artist, not as a exclusively Warzone Doom Trooper. That's what I know you for. I've got 5 questions that I prepared, and I went through with my friends if they're interesting questions, like challenging a little bit. And so the first question is, your creatures, like trolls and orcs, often feel both fierce and endearing. You like those models, even though you know they're bad guys. How do you develop that unique emotional depth in your characters and represent it in the picture, in a drawing, in art?
Well, as we say in England, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's what people looking at it get from it. I just do what I do, but I think it's mainly because, to me, I'm trying to make something believable, something alive, so that even if you don't see the detail, even the invisible details, you're aware that this thing, the troll, goblin, dwarf, had a past. It was there the day before you see it, and it'll be there the day after, and he'll be doing something different. And it's maybe that, I would hope it's that reality that people can find a recognition in, rather than, it's just another fantasy trope or a cliche. This thing's actually, they can, like I can, you can hopefully see it going through the forest or running through the rocks, or doing whatever they do. Yeah, I think of it as maybe I'm there to record some wildlife, like a nature program, and hopefully that's what people pick up on. That it's not just a character.
You mentioned about the reality, that it can come up in reality. What I really liked about your art is that sometimes we have monsters like that, and then we've got a face of a trooper, like a human face, that is like a photo. It's a photorealistic, and that breaks this. I think it's called uncanny valley. That you believe it's real. You forget that it's a drawing, because obviously you've got something that your mind gets stuck to. It's realistic, so that must be realistic as well. So I think that sort of sells it for.
Yeah, I mean, it's wanting to have something that anchors it in something. So every now and again in a painting or drawing, it's like in a ship, you have to throw the anchor over the board so you can stop for a while. And look around and see where you are, and this anchors it to a kind of reality. I hope.
So that's your gimmick. So
without it meaning to be, you have to put stuff in that people recognize, even if it's subliminal. You just put little clues in that. Oh, I know what he's trying to do there, or I've got one of those.
And your brain has something to latch onto, and then translates.
My old clothes have got holes in the knees, or when I fall over, I get dirt on my face. It's little messaging that's subtle without meaning to do. It's just everything has a history, you know.
Yeah, sure. That's one of my questions for later as well.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So maybe I'll go through that. I'll skip one question to go to the third question. As you said, your illustrations often feel like frozen moments from a much bigger stories. So that's what you said. It's just a snippet of time, like a snapshot, a snapshot, and then we know that, like the picture that the people can see over here. We know that there's a Mishima ship underneath, and they were fighting in it, and it just came out of water. We know what's going to happen. We know what has been happening before that, and we just see one picture, one snapshot. Is that something that it's intentional, obviously, right?
Yeah. But I mean that one particularly, because it was, you know, a newish thing doing the Warzone. They wanted an action thing. You know, that's fair enough. You know, that's what we get paid for. But in my own, and often the more well-known ones with Trudvang, I tend not to do so many action things. I think it's much more interesting to have the moment just before or the moment just after.
Okay.
Because you can't help yourself. If it's just before, then you can't help push the button in people to think, oh, blimey, what's going to happen here? Is somebody going to survive? Is it going to get messy? Is there going to be blood? And that's much more interesting than just somebody with the big sword or the big axe. Because then, they're just having a fight. And of course, you can make fantastic dynamic art doing the action. But I like that sort of standing on the edge and just, are we going to tip over into that or not?
You can see that in some of the dioramas presented in the festival. There are some that it's a duel, and the guys are preparing to take a swing, and that's one thing that's just before. But you already know what's going to happen. But you also have something that and a character is moving through a tunnel, and the Skaven rat is just above him, looking over, and you don't know if he's going to let him pass or if he's going to attack.
Exactly.
So that's a different approach completely. You leave it open basically, right? With these artworks, they don't leave anything open. You know what's going to happen. They're going to fight. One of them is going to die, and which is still cool.
I mean, but they were, starting the company, they were trying to establish a look and get people to know. So
for
they
16-year-olds, it was amazing.
So they tried to put in as much as possible in the pictures. We need a guy doing that, and we've got to have this faction and that faction and that faction.
And that character, that unit, even because we're going to sell it, right? Because it's all targeted, it's all something with an intention. Right. You've worked with iconic franchises. Which of the projects challenged you the most, and why?
Which one challenged?
In any way, artistically, or maybe because of we need this, and that in the art. Is there anything like that comes to your mind? And
I mean, I'm lucky enough that I've end up enjoying most of them. But challenging, it's all. I guess for me, the challenging stuff is the straight lines. Machinery, technical stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm more at home doing the more organic. Nature things and big nose and big ears. So maybe some of the. I did some mechanical stuff for Forge World. Some I forgot the contemptors and some things, and they were great fun to do, but really challenging. Because they had to work, the machinery and the components and the metal casing and the weaponry had to function, and I was very much aware of that. You couldn't get away with stuff.
So it's outside of your comfort zone.
If comfort zone's the right idea, it's more. I'd say it's just because it's a bit more of a challenge. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. Because the challenge is hopefully what we all do that pushes us to be better.
Okay.
I mean, even doing when I first started on Warzone, that was a challenge because I'd never done that kind of, what's it called, a techno fantasy, is it something?
Sci-fi, I would say.
Sci-fi, that wasn't really my bag.
It's more like that.
That really wasn't my bag at all. So it's a lot of guys with guns and this sort of sci-fi stuff. But, I'll give it a go. But it took me a while to get my head around it.
Sure. You did a good job. I mean,
you
inspired plenty of people,
especially in Poland.
In Poland and Italy, as you said. Plenty of people went through that. I remember my face that for 2 or 3 years we've been playing Warzone like every single weekend with my friends, painting the models and doing games, campaigns, everything. There was 3 of us: Legion, Imperium, Imperial, and Bauhaus. So there's the 3 factions that we've been playing. All the metal clunky models that no one wanted to glue them together, and they didn't work. The models were another story. Right. So the 4th question that I've got for you, Paul, is looking at the current generations of fantasy artists. So something back to maybe your roots. Is there anyone whose work you particularly admire?
What, the current generation?
Yeah, current generation, like new guys.
People younger than me, you mean, don't you? so I could pick from almost anyone these days. Oh man, there's so many, you know. And of course, with social media and cyberspace, we're bombarded with stuff all the time.
Instagram pictures. And,
so even if you're good at not getting on there, which I am, you still can't help seeing stuff all the time. It's difficult off the top of my head. But I mean, favourite artists that people would know, I mean, of course, I've always liked Adrian Smith. Mm-hmm. He's only a little bit younger than me, so maybe he doesn't count. But he's somebody that's been out there on his own for a long time. It's not really maybe your world so much, but there's a younger American guy, Justin Gerard, who has a very whimsical kind of take on the classic kind of fantasy tropes with dwarves and treasure and caves and dragons. And I love his stuff. We're friends as well, actually, but I've always loved his stuff. And it's very much kind of what I do, but a little bit more whimsical, you know, lighter. But it retains that kind of almost childlike quality of maybe when you're younger and you open a book and you go, ooh, look at that, you know, sense of wonder. Where there's very little of that around. A lot of the art today is very like, oh God, that's a bit over the top, or that's a bit disgusting, or wow, that's violent, or that's cool, or that's very superhero. But there's not much around, I notice, that has that sense of wonder, you know, magic. You know.
I remember the books that I remember the most were not like technically. There's this particular comic book from Poland that was drawn. I don't remember by whom, because it was 30 years ago. But I remember I have pictures in my head, like imprinted in my head, that like fantasy. Again, it was like science fiction fantasy pictures, but. It had its own sense of quality. I mean, what I want to say by that is that it was like anything else on the market back then, when we had like Asterix and Obelix in my days, and it was sort of that, but very. I think the word whimsical is good for that. Very fantasy and very childish. Like, of course, I was a child back then, but it stayed in me. So
well, that's what I mean. It's the stuff that stays in you that still echoes, resonates. It still resonates with me. There, it pushes the buttons. You know.
I was very happy when they announced that they're gonna reprint it after 30 years. And I'm still to buy it, because obviously it's out of stock all the time, because people like me now can afford it, and they buy out the stock every single time it appears. So that's a problem. I'm really happy that your book, actually, your art book that everyone was signing today. Someone told me that it's. I said, "How much is this book?" Because I haven't seen this book. I haven't been following every publication. They said 100. I was like, 100 euros, which was for me like that's decent price. And they said, "No, it's 100 zloty." Like, that's very approachable.
That's a good price.
Yeah, it's a very good price.
It seems only 100.
That's from what they said to me. Maybe 80 is sometimes even on a sale in a shop.
That's quite cheap, actually.
That's actually quite cheap. Yeah.
How sad. But happy for the Polish people, though. Of course.
Whoever prints it. I mean, even if it was 100 euros, you recalculate it. I mean, you translate it to what it would be 400. Just still for. Amazing book of art. It's a conversation starter, and something that I found this artwork in there. So like, I remember the cover of the magazine with that particular model. Yeah. I still have it somewhere in my hobby room. Right, the last question I want to ask you, and I know that you've touched on this subject on the presentation yesterday, on your interview, prelection or whatever they call it.
Interrogation.
How do you feel about people being able to create their own, and I have to do it, art based on your art using AI? Because right now I can go into ChatGPT or any other Gemini and I say, do me a model of me, for instance, sitting in this chair in Paul Bonner style, and it's going to do it. How do you feel about it?
I think it's a bit pathetic. I mean, it's just cheating. It's lazy. I don't know why anybody would find it interesting apart from a technological, like, ooh, isn't it fun that you can do that? But there's nothing creative about it. And it's still stealing everything that I've done or that a writer's done.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, from one standpoint, a tech savvy person and a tech enthusiast, for me, it's as you said, it's interesting stuff. I would never imagine someone selling this, and obviously, if someone made this art like available, I think it's not even cheating; it's stealing.
Yeah, but they do, don't they?
They do. I mean,
well, not in such an obvious way, but because all AI is farmed from countless images, it's still theft, but it pops. We know it's popping up more and more frequently in our world. Maybe at the moment you notice it more in advertising and stuff. Just in a magazine, you're flipping through and you think, hang on a minute, that looks a bit weird.
You're
right. You're not obviously going to see a children's book with, let's say, illustrations that look like Paul Bonner. People aren't quite that brave yet, because, I mean, of course, Europe and America are still trying to legislate it. So there might be some idiots that want to do that, but are holding back until they find out if they can get into trouble for it or not. So it'll be interesting to see which direction it goes, because, of course, the bottom line is it's about money. It's nothing to do with artistic integrity. It's
okay. And how do you feel about when person draws in your style, tries to imitate your style, and does this art? It's still art. It's there. They put an effort into it, but they try to imitate. Let's say a starting artist, they haven't found their way yet, and they just try to imitate your style, which is amazing. But this is something they grew up on, and they want to do a copy, not one-to-one copy, but style copy of your stuff.
Well, I don't mind so much. They're not trying to sell anything and claim it's their own, and there's no doubt that we can all learn from other people's work. And it is, I mean, we had to do that at art college. We had specific projects where we had to take a favorite black and white illustration from any time and try and copy it exactly,
One-to-one.
Yeah, and you think, at that age, you think, what would we do that for? What a waste of time. But it did give some insights into how somebody else had achieved what we were trying to achieve and find our own language. Somebody else already had the language for it. And it definitely made you understand how they did it. But then then it's up to you to, shut that and I'll carry on my own path. Okay. And the difference is that lots of people, they carry on relying on that, and they never find their own path.
That's the point of creativity, right?
But I'd never openly, criticize some person starting out and that is in love with the idea of art and wants to create. Of course you have to look at stuff, It's me, I look at the natural world, that's copying, if you like, or anatomy, anatomy photographs or a mirror sometimes. It's all, we could call it reference rather than copying.
Yeah. I mean, I've asked this question because my 10-year-old, she's into drawing, and she constantly does that. She opens, I think it's called Pinterest. She finds a picture of what she wants to draw, and she draws it herself. And I see that she's still in the phase of copying and looking for her own way. Yeah. But hopefully, at some point she will find, and she will close in Pinterest, and she will not be able to draw without any reference and just from her mind. So the AI thing is recently, at least, I'm not sure if it was internationally so big, but in Poland we had this trend of using AI to create your own avatar in Ghibli style. I don't know if you.
Was that just in?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was.
Yeah, I remember seeing something about it. I didn't read deeply into it, but yeah.
It's always problem with people. People on one hand were saying it's amazing because you can do it your own. No one would draw it for you, and we all know it's AI. Yeah. It's cheap and it's just for fun. But maybe are we stealing from Studio Ghibli? Are we not? Are we devaluing their work by doing this? I'm somewhere in the middle, as I'm not an artist, so I'm not personally attached to it, but I just wanted to see how you feel. I mean, obviously, I know a little bit now.
It's so difficult to be black and white on something like that.
No.
If somebody wants a little personal avatar to put on their
just for fun
gaming profile or whatever, yeah, of course, the bottom line, it's still thieving if you've got... because the point is, it was the AI that collected or stole the imagery from all the Ghibli stuff to put in the machines that somebody else could then take out. So morally, I think it's still wrong, but I'm not saying that I blame the person for
using the technology,
using the little thingy-bob on their gaming profile. It's just a bit sad that, maybe it's just a bit sad that it's all available in that way. Mm-hmm. But that's different from, being making concept artists redundant, because now computer AI can come up with complete moving storyboards, or can even write a book, or students can get their exams written for
dissertations
them and everything.
And
that's where it just gets really awful. Not just because of the theft that put it in the system in the first place, but the psychological dependence on that as a species biologically.
That comes so easy.
It makes you do one thing and it slowly stops you doing other stuff, and that's a very, very slippery slope.
You do a thing and you didn't put any effort in research in anything really,
and you get used to that, and maybe you expect it in other walkways of your life with relationships or whatever, why shouldn't it knock on from that? Because it defines who you are. Your actions define who you are. But like I said last night, that for me, the bottom line is that if you can't be bothered to write a book, why should I be bothered to read it?
That's actually a good point. There's no effort on your part, and why should I put an effort?
Yeah. Maybe it's the same with visual. If you can't be bothered to draw something or present something that you've done, why should I be bothered to look at it? But it's a huge subject, and
it's very murky, as I would say.
There's lots of moral stuff, but also it'll be interesting to see if the courts are brave enough to actually put up some serious legislation against all these people harvesting.
And we know for a fact that Meta, that has been creating, they didn't pay a dime, and it's
sickening, absolutely sickening.
They just went through it. Right. Sorry for this sort of uncomfortable question.
No, it's okay. It's all right,
thank you, Paul. Is there anything you would like to say to Polish fans worldwide?
Well, it's embarrassing now because I've forgotten what the word for thank you was in Polish.
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję. Yeah. Because it's been wonderful. They've been so friendly, and helps me again feel it's worthwhile what I'm doing. Seeing it go out into the world, and
so many people with the cards and art books.
So many people. Yeah, so lots of signing and drawing my name. And
is your hand all right?
Yeah, but the brain starts frizzling after a while. Thinking, what's my name? How's it?
It's because you are in the corner of everyone else moving past you. So I think that's the problem as well. It's very loud over there.
Well, next time you can put me out in a little tent in the field,
just in the corner.
See if anybody comes. But no, it's been wonderful. So, thanks again, everyone, for the invitation.
And thank you for those couple of minutes that you spent with me.
Pleasure.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Bye.